Hey, everybody, welcome. Before we jump into this episode, I want to give you a quick warning. Our special guest is Erica Arvold, and when she starts talking about actors, creativity, casting, and what actually makes somebody bookable, I got to tell you, full disclosure, I go complete fanboy. And I'm not sorry about it. Brett's over there enjoying the chaos while I'm basically hanging on her every word and jumping in and bouncing around like a trained dolphin because I'm just so excited. And you know what? If you're an actor, especially in the Southeast, but LA, New York, anywhere that auditions matter, you need to check out this full episode. Erica drops the kind of insight people spend years and way too much money trying to figure out. We get into verticals, AI, instinct, storytelling, what casting directors really look for, hence the title, and why the human element still matters more than ever. So yeah, I get a little excited in this one, but that's because everybody in this industry gets excited when Erica Arvold starts talking. So, welcome to the club. Here's episode 9 of Tech and Talent with Erica M. Effin Arvold.
So you can't cast potential. You have to cast who already you can imagine in the role 100%. It doesn't mean their audition's perfect. It doesn't mean they have to do it, but you have to cast someone that you're like, oh, how can we not cast them?
Tech and Talent.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us in another episode of Tech and Talent with my co-host, Jonathan McFadden, and myself, Brett Newton. Today we have Erica Arvold, casting director, industry professional. You've been running the Northeast for how many years now, Erica? And I mean, how many amazing shows and productions do you have under your belt?
I don't know, a lot. Well, I'm in the Southeast now, not the Northeast.
The Southeast, sorry.
But I did start in the Midwest in Chicago. Then I was in Los Angeles for many years, a decade, and then I came to the Southeast. So, yeah, I've had a luxurious kind of a plethora of experience in many different genres and wearing many hats. But my anchor, and when I started casting in 1990, that is how I see the world. I see the world with empathy and character-driven story.
Wow. That's a quote for your website right there. I see the world with empathy and character-driven story. I love it. I love it. Did you know, Erica, that most talent who are professional level, obviously, in the Southeast, certainly, when they hear your name, they go, oh, that's the response. Oh,
that's so kind.
Why do you think they
you.
say that? I mean, I know why we say it, but why do you think they respond that way?
I mean, I think that my job in all the different things that I do is to really see and hear people. And I think that when I'm directing, especially, or coaching, I feel like my responsibility is to really pay attention and then report back to them what I'm seeing and hearing. And I think that's a fairly nuanced specialty in the world today. So maybe
Empathy and
that
honesty
has something to do with it. Yeah.
What a crazy concept.
Exactly.
What are you working on right now that you can talk about?
Oh, I'm working on casting projects and I'm working on writing projects and I'm working on directing projects, but I'm in no position to talk about specifically what I'm doing at the moment because I have to sign NDAs.
Jonathan loves to break NDAs. We talk about this every show. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's not that I like to break them, Brett. It's that I think people who listen and
I
who
know.
really want to tune in, we want to hear what we're allowed to hear. So
yeah.
if you can't tell us what you're currently working
Mhm.
on, I would ask, are you able to talk about what the genre is and what you were looking for? And if not, what is your favorite project or the one that you feel you got to put most of your own breath and essence into?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes and yes. Um, Here's the thing about my creative life is I don't stick to one genre. As a matter of fact, I get not tapped out of the genre, but I stay curious by switching genres.
Mm.
So I can see people in a different light. And one of my favorite things to do is to see somebody in a comedy and then realize that, yes, they're a fabulous performer and actor and have a plethora of experience and they know how to, deliver the rhythm of comedy, but really they can also do a beautiful dramatic role. And so that to me is almost akin to kind of my casting brain. And to go even more specifically into that, because I'll cast, which is, as I said, my anchor to my entire artistry, but I also produce and I also direct. And so all three of those things that I do, I actually have a very specific match or attraction or chemical reaction to different types of projects depending on where I'm involved in them.
Okay, okay. Oddly, strangely,
Like science.
I know exactly what you mean. Living in the Southeast, Central Florida, I'm a studio owner. I
Mhm.
produce commercials. I'm in commercials. Obviously a podcaster, a host. I also work for a daytime TV show in New York City, where I'm on call to be their pre-show host. So there's so many different things that I do, and that's what you have to do in this industry, in this
You
market,
have to
you
be
know?
I mean, I started when multi-hyphenates were a big no-no, and you stayed in your lane. And if I were casting in Los Angeles, I started working and was the second assistant on a show, Frasier. And so I only do half hour. And then I was like, I think
Mm.
and then I did this movie called The Horse Whisperer. And so then I'm like, oh no, I only do features that are dramatic. And like it was funny because I come from Chicago. So we did everything. I first national tour of Angels in America. I did theater. I did, you know, The World Goes Round and Evita and like all sorts of stuff, and I went to theater school. So like I love Stanislavski, I love talking Adler,
Whoa!
Hagen, Strasberg, the whole everything. I love that. And then when I'm educating and when I'm directing and when I'm coaching and I just like it's all the same thing though, right? We all have the same skeleton of artistry. And I know this sounds radical. Well, maybe it doesn't at all, but I'm from a family and I'm an athlete. And the sports analogies and the theater slash filmmaking analogies are the same to me. I mean, we as artists are athletes of the soul.
Yeah.
And, my swimming and my rowing, I had to have a mindset and my body had to be toned, but we have to be our bodies. I live because I am so busy and I travel a lot and I work in a lot of areas. I treat my body like I'm running a marathon every week. Like I am so careful with what I put in my mouth and what the sleep I get. And I am regimented just like an athlete in order to do my art.
Yeah, yeah, and an actor the same way. Like that
Mhm.
muscle needs to be fine-tuned and it constantly has to be worked on. If you don't work that acting muscle for a month, or 2 months, a year, it changes. It goes away. It's not as fine-tuned. The memorization muscle, same type of thing. The voice muscle, being, the theater muscle versus the on-camera muscle. Like these are things
Mhm.
that need to be constantly have a workout,
And the memorization. So one show that I've worked on for many seasons is a courtroom show. And there are a lot of people that testify, and there are a lot of words, and they will add a lot of words too. And so maybe the audition is a tiny one page, and we have to make sure that we cast people who can handle several pages of words, but also go toe to toe with the series regulars who are lawyers who are boom, 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 boom. Let's start here, take it 2 lines back. And so like when I have this workout class that I've done once a week for 2 years, it started as a grand experiment. I just did it once and like it just kept going, which
A workout class.
Yeah, it's
what kind of workout?
Acting workout. So it's a workout
Oh,
for me as a director too, but it's so we do like the scripts that are available online for education, and we'll do huge roles. And I mean, but my style of directing, my style of coaching and educating is I side coach, because when it's prevalent to me, I want them to know it right then. You can't do that on set. So I think it's a luxury to have an opinion in real time. Sometimes it drives actors crazy, and I totally respect that. But I can't go back and go like, oh, at 2 minutes and 1 second into the scene, I didn't believe your left eye. Like, and I get specific, like I get that specific. So it's like, I want right in the minute, I'm like, did you feel you weren't paying attention to the other person? Maybe you were thinking of your line, but I saw that. Why don't you instead trust the other person that your line will come? Look at their eyes and trust that they are going to give you that line. And if you go up, you're at least on the other person, and those thoughts are magical on camera, rather than being like, oh no, I forgot my line, because then you're out of character,
that is exactly how I work too, because by the end of that, if I've got 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever notes, by the end of the scene, an actor's really only going to remember one thing, to go and do it again.
Exactly. And isn't the responsibility of all of our jobs, including directing, it's the aliveness moment to moment.
Hmm.
So it's the scene that happens. So if you're playing the end of the scene, so that's why I don't think notes at the end really are as helpful in a class setting than right at that second. I also am always aiming in whatever I'm doing, it could be even in a casting session, right? To just articulate to a performer or a writer, I work with a lot of writers, like this thing, this is your sweet spot. This is where your true voice and it came through. Because if you can understand as an artist what your unique gift to the whole world is, even for a nanosecond, you can work on expanding that.
So,
You know?
okay. Jumping into that specifically pertaining to casting and looking
Yeah.
at tapes, right? Like when you're looking at tapes, because obviously we're not in the room anymore. You're looking at tapes that are coming in, and you're looking for these things in the tapes. So what are you seeing that leads down this direction, and then you bring the actor in for the callback or even the booking? What are you seeing in
when
the
I'm
tape?
casting versus when I'm working as a coach or an educator, totally
Okay.
different bar of expectations. So when I'm working with someone, I am 100% there to help them expand their own creativity, understanding of the script, and acceptance of their own enoughness, honestly, because a lot of actors try to do too much to prove that they can act, when in fact, sitting there and breathing and thinking is what is required. And that's a human nature thing, to try to do something because everyone else on set's doing something. But when I'm casting, I have to look, I have a couple wild things that I do that other casting directors do too. I don't think I'm the only one. Um, A, just give yourself the scenario, and it sounds really cutthroat, but it has to be, because you have to give choices to the director or the showrunner and the producers, etc., who can enhance the story, who 100% are bookable. So you can't cast potential. You have to cast who already you can imagine in the role 100%. It doesn't mean their audition's perfect. It doesn't mean they have to do it, but you have to cast someone that you're like, oh, how can we not cast them? It's not, oh, I can see their potential. They could be on the show. That's not my job. My job is to say, no, you can't not hire this person because they're so amazing and it's not them in their craft. You're going to assume, I assume everyone's an incredible actor. It's this interpretation is so amazing for the thing, this essence of the person, like a painting. I'm adding some green over here. Oh my gosh, that makes the whole painting come alive, right?
Yeah.
You can't not, I'm a painter too. So you can't look away. And so one of the things is like if I'm in my mind, if I'm like, oh, I'm cooking dinner and oh, I'm watching this actor, but I have to go flip the chicken over or whatever. I'm like, ooh, they're not holding my attention. Like I will tell you, there are auditions that I literally am like, I don't care if the chicken burns. I'm right here watching and I'll watch it again. And I am vocal. I am a very active watcher of tapes. I am by myself in a room and I am talking to the screen. I am cheering people on. I'm like, you did not. Yes, you did. Like I am so into it. And it's very, when you have that specific of a needle in a haystack of those feelings and that attention, it is apparent. It becomes so clear who needs to go on that link and go up.
I love everything I'm hearing. I would love to see a recording
I know.
of you watching self tapes by yourself. Like, you don't have to show us the self tapes,
Right.
but it's just you reacting to it. Because I'm sure everyone got the same visual of you sitting in like probably
Oh,
a dark office with just the light of the TV or the monitor on you, and you're
well, I mean,
talking. Don't go in there. What do you
it's
do? Like,
true. I mean, I am
I love
obviously
it.
an athlete, and I literally am like I watch it like an athlete of the soul. Like it is
I love it.
true. I'm like,
How do you
oh
see?
no, wait, you could have been so much more. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, that was new. I didn't know that. Oh my God, you took that. You just moved your arm. You went out of frame. Oh my gosh, that was such a smart choice. Like I am just like ridiculous. I love watching tapes. I love it.
I think people would love watching you watch tapes. Um,
That's
how
hilarious.
how do you see AI coming in and playing a role in what it is that you do in every aspect of it?
Yeah, I think, I think AI is a tool. I think it's really dangerous because it can take over. But I also think the human gut instinct is it's not replaceable. So in casting, especially because I can say I need an 18-year-old that looks like this, that plays the sister to this, to blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, think of a 44-year-old, and I'm like, what if this? And like, and you just, AI can't do that. They can't do that. Or I'm seeing someone in one role and putting them in another role. So it's not, I find that sometimes, and you have to know the rules to break them, whatever that old saying is, right? Sometimes I think anyone in this industry, especially early career and mid-career artists, which I can now say since this is my 37th year, the early career artists, I think, are in their first 10 years of their artistry. And I think mid-career is like their second 10 years, maybe 15 years, right? And then you start becoming just like, you're just a career artist. That's how you make your living. And then, you become a senior career
Oh
artist.
God, is that what's next for me? Is senior?
I don't
Wonderful.
think senior's a
Boy,
bad thing. I think it's like the wise, amazing mentor, beautiful artist, right? And so, I think of James Earl Jones. I don't think of his early
oh,
career. He's amazing in his early career, but like I think of this, unbelievable guru, right? Or Morgan Freeman. My gosh, he like grew into those roles in the
sure.
best way, right? So, um, anyway, the what was I saying?
We were talking about AI and
Oh yes.
how you
Yeah.
see it changing and affecting what you do, but not just AI in terms of organizing emails and
Mhm.
but I'm talking specifically like avatar actors, people who are not actually people, they're brands and products that have been prompted. Do you see yourself ever casting any of those along with real people?
I don't get it. I mean, I don't get it. I am such a proponent of human emotion, and that I
Yeah.
think that is my fuel as an artist. I really do. That even let's talk about, kid actors might do a bunch of commercials, and that's awesome. But sometimes it's very difficult to cast them in a very different genre than commercials because they have habits that they have learned that work, right? That are work for that genre, etc.
Mm,
But then the translation to another genre, and I feel like the AI is just a genre, and I don't quite get. It's like you're gonna get what you get out of it. As nuanced as they say it can be, it's not. I don't
That
know. I feel like I do have, and maybe it's because of the years in this, like I am a truth seeker, and I think that's my job, is a truth
Yeah.
seeker in authenticity. And I just must, I must have developed my truth seeking ability unconsciously because of what I do over so many years, and I'm able to articulate, like I just said, I didn't believe that moment, or I don't believe that moment in the script, or I
Right.
this bumped me in a script or whatnot, and I just go for this ride, and I don't think AI, and I've used AI to help with organizing my ideas for something, or I'm about to give a big keynote speech, and I have used it I just kind of pontificate, as you can probably tell on this podcast. And but it's nice to get the feedback of my own notes in a more organized fashion that I can look at then freshly and go, oh no, I want to reorganize it this way because that's authentic to me. But I don't get AI actors
the
or
the
even
whole
directing AI.
the whole take that you just said, that AI is its own genre. I mean,
Mm.
that's a very interesting take on it. I think we can all agree on the AI's here, and there's
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
something happening with it. It's not gonna go away. The idea that it's a different genre, like I'm gonna go watch an AI series, or I'm
Yes,
gonna go watch a network television series with real actors, I think that is a real thing. I think, and
I
that will
agree.
very much become a real thing. It's like you look at the evolution of how information and entertainment gets to people: printing press, radio, television, cable, internet, social media, AI, right? The audience is constantly split and moving over,
Well, it's already all right, Brett. It's already there because
yeah,
I have people in my family that are in the computer gaming world. AI to me is the computer gaming world, and it already exists. And like I'm like, oh, no, this is narrative
sure,
film, and that's a
sure,
video game or a computer game.
sure,
And like it's just becoming closer, I guess.
yeah,
And so the narrative stories within the gaming are becoming much more
sure,
compelling and narrative, and now of
yes.
course they're making films of it and blah blah, so it's getting blurred. But I agree with you. I think if we can think about it as its own genre, almost like, as you know, verticals are their own genre, or soap operas
Sure.
are their own genre or whatnot,
or,
then
or their own like distribution method, because I do think like
yeah.
verticals, like we're at the beginning of this vertical world where I think we will get into a whole bunch of different types of genres and reality shows and da 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 da
Mhm.
da and different platforms. With the AI, like I firmly believe, like, okay, so you have the Tilly Norwood avatars, right? And you'll have, we
Mhm.
now will live in a world where infinite avatars can be created and IP can be created and owned by different companies, blah, blah, blah. But I firmly believe there will be an audition for me myself where it's, hey, Brett, you're auditioning to act with Tilly Norwood, the avatar.
Mhm.
And I think that the human actor acting with the AI only gives I guess, more authority to the AI actor, because now it's like, well, it blurs the AI world with
It
the
does,
real
and
world.
maybe AI learns from that too, right? Like they probably have that. But remember when, oh my gosh, what was the movie when it was a mixture of animation and real actors? I'm
Cool
talking a long
World.
time. What was it?
Cool
Cool
World,
World.
Roger Rabbit.
Yes,
Roger
Uh,
Roger
Rabbit.
Rabbit. I was
Yeah, yeah,
thinking
yeah.
Roger Rabbit. Thank you. That, yeah, like old school. And that was like unbelievable,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so I just think that these new genres, I mean, think of music and the new genres because the synthesizer exists, right? Like I just think all of it
Right.
is creating new stuff, but I don't think that means that it is going to completely eradicate some of the
Yes.
history either. And I don't think that humanity can be completely eradicated. However, I just got something in my inbox. I don't remember if it was the New York Times or what. And it said, by humans for humans. And I was like, oh boy, we are here. We are here.
Welcome to the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that you mentioned, Brett, that I thought was interesting, and I'm not pushing on this, but I want you to clarify it. You mentioned printing press, radio, or vaudeville radio, whatever. I think the difference between that and where we are now with AI is that wasn't a genre shift. That was a medium
Yes.
shift.
Yes.
Whereas AI, I'll use the word infiltrating, but it's infiltrating every medium. and
Sure.
every genre, like
Sure.
this, as
Well,
opposed to like that.
which in essence, like
Oh, sorry. If you're listening, I spread my fingers out like wings
yeah.
rather than incremental steps. That's what I
Well,
forget that people.
I think I'd consider AI a medium shift, like
Yeah.
because the way that you
But
produce content, like I mean, verticals is a medium shift because it's to cell phones, right? But
yes.
but AI is a medium shift because it's ever engulfing all distribution platforms and places where we ingest media, right? And it can be used in that. I think it's just the next stage. And like not that I'm, saying it's good or bad, it's here. I'm just trying to open my eyes to what's happening. But when you say like, and then you can say it's the next genre, but it can also be every genre. It can be in every genre.
Yeah, I guess that's the
It,
point
it,
I'm
it's
making is
it,
it's when people utilize these AI avatars, we're not building a new screen for them to consume this
sure,
content
Mhm.
on. It's on the screen that didn't utilize avatars a
sure.
year ago. Whether
So in
that's the phone or the movie theater screen or a TV,
sure.
it's getting
Well,
its way into everything.
Then the
So
same
like,
way that we talk about, well, Kermit the Frog as a puppet operated by people, and he was an artist. He was designed by an artist. Same with
Uh-huh.
these avatars. In essence, they'll be programmed and designed by people, or eventually programmed and designed by AI that was programmed and designed by people. Um, it then essentially is a tool, which then essentially becomes its own operating. Can become its own tool that's operating itself you know so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, is that
but I can get micro or macro. I want to do both. So
yes, do it.
macro, if you're talking about change, literally change in even our individuality, if we learn something, we have a pendulum swing always, right? Like this is what we're interested, but we don't want it, but we're going here. And so when change happens, usually the pendulum swing is way over here, but at some point it has to actually counterbalance, go way over here, and then eventually it starts going this. And hopefully you're not like stayed because that means you're dead, right? So you're kind of going back and forth, but just a little bit. But I feel like we're on one of the extremes right now with AI. So eventually, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I don't think it's possible, in at least in my human experience, to stay only over on one side. I think somehow there's going to be equilibrium. It might be a new type of equilibrium,
Yeah.
but there is going to be. And then micro level, someone said to me the other day, they're like, "Oh, I could just cast with AI." And I said, "Oh, how would you do that?" And they said, "Because I just ask whatever AI they're using to make me a list of, all clients from a big agency like CAA or UTA or something like that." And they're like, "So now I just have their whole client list. And so then I can pick and I can say what age and this, that, and the other." I'm like, "Okay, so that's organizing information, and that's
Yeah,
great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to be honest.
sure.
But who's making the decision of who's right for that role because they've read the script and they're seeing this list and they're making this unbelievably high brain, gut instinct, creative, artistic choice? And it's not, I'm unable to articulate my checklist, and that's what happens with, back to my point way before, early career artists. They have a checklist of, oh, I sound like this, I got this right, I got this. And then they're like, okay, and checklists are good, it's really important, but you can't really fly and do your own thing until you use that checklist as your foundation, and then you can leap from it, or use that checklist as a mountain. Like what I'm saying, like, you got a mountain, maybe AI is even part of it, but then it's this free fall, or it's the flight after leaping off the mountain that is art.
Okay, devil's advocate, right?
Yeah.
Like all of the studios and everything have turned into these streaming companies, have turned into these Silicon Valley data companies based on
Mhm.
data. What's the data on the response of viewership watching this, and we can pinpoint the exact moment of what was watched more on this episode of this streaming show and this da 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 da, so let's make more of that, right? So eventually, so they're literally plugging in algorithms now to
Mhm.
people's performances and what's being watched. If they have all that data, right? And then that data is informing a human who's the executive producer or the studio head that's hiring the casting director, and that casting director is putting that breakdown out, all based on that data. Why in this world, why? And then same thing with distribution platforms. Why can't they just create an informed AI that does all of that?
I mean, they
Going
can.
off of
I'm sure they will, as a matter of fact. I'm
yeah,
sure they will. But it's the same thing to me. Think of a huge movie that hired eight celebrities that you
yeah,
know, that story is amazing, and the special effects are incredible, and it flops at the box office.
yeah,
You are not guaranteed a positive ROI just because you've checked boxes. There is something about the human condition that resonates with another human condition in storytelling. And this is why storytelling is like
yeah,
storytelling existed in the first place. Like it is a way to empathize and feel and create. And I think AI can be programmed to the nth degree, but there's going to be a moment that it doesn't get. Like, I don't
yeah.
know.
It
Well,
Maybe,
makes
maybe,
mistakes
or
all the
maybe we're
time.
all AI right now, and it's so sophisticated that I'm thinking I fooled myself and I'm literally an AI. Who
right.
knows? I don't know.
Right, that's an interesting take on it too. But I mean, I agree on you, like, because there's data, like casting somebody, giving someone an opportunity that's never had an opportunity before. That, in essence, is information that has never existed before that. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Correct.
And I mean, like, look, you're giving hope and prosperity to it. Like, look, I'm an actor. I don't want to be replaced. I love feeling and emoting on camera or on stage.
Mhm.
I am, I always say this, I'm optimistic about this future. I think the actor producer will do very well in the years to come, because they'll have opportunities to make production value in things that they weren't able to do before by
Oh, yeah.
themselves. You
Hmm.
know, um, and I agree, the equilibrium, like, I think will fall somewhere. It's not gonna 100% replace everything. There's gonna be something where I take a little bit of this, I take a little bit of that, and I make something like this, you
Yeah, and
know?
some people are going to be purists, and some people are going to
Yes.
be all on the other thing, and it's just going to be
Yeah.
within it's already in the fabric of what we do,
Yeah.
and we already utilize it without even knowing it. That's the thing. Like on our phones, on our thing, on our editing, and like like the purists aren't as pure as they think they are. I don't think unless it's all analog. And there is a movement. I mean, my kids
Yeah.
in their 20s, they live in LA, and literally they are like, I don't want to be on my smartphone. I want an analog. Like, there's a movement to go analog, meet in
Right.
person. So
Yeah.
I don't, but that's the pendulum swing. To me, that's what we're talking about, and whatnot. I mean, I hope that people have agency to do what they are called to do, period. And like, called means whatever, just do their dreams. Do what they dreamt of when they were a kid. There are so many ways in now, and there's not a right way and there's not a wrong way. And I just hope everyone who has an inner artist, which I believe every human does, is able to follow that, because there's so many
Right.
tools now that they could use.
Well, it's the entire entertainment industry, right? There's no real rules, and there's no real guideline, right? Right.
To your point, Brett, I said something once a long time ago, and I heard myself, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I agree with myself," because the the only thing I know about being in the film business this long is that it is 100% exceptions. Everyone's like, oh no, that should go like that, or this movie should go like this. And I'm like, it never does. Never. 100% of the time, it does not go according. So like this perfect process
Yeah.
does not exist other than in our mind's eye.
Yeah, yeah. Now, speaking of like imperfect processes and
Mm.
actors, right? Something I've been talking about in this AI world and avatars and people's, people are training data on other movies and things like that. And I've been saying that actors need to start protecting themselves,
Mm.
with whether it's copyright, whether it's trademark. Recently, Taylor Swift's team has been filing trademarks for her. They're filing U.S. trademark applications, and then also Matthew McConaughey last year filed 8 trademarks in 2025. Now, there's different rules and regulations on how you can file a trademark and copyrights and things like that, and what they can be filed for, because I don't think personal likeness was something that you could file a trademark for. But I think what they're basically saying now with these avatar creations and clear, they're creating clear perimeters around ownership against unauthorized AI impersonations and things like that. But I've been telling actors need to start copywriting and trademarking their likeness, their voice, their image. I mean, what is your take on this? Have you experienced any of this stuff? Are you negotiating any of this in contracts?
I've only heard about it once in my recent experience, and that is that I had a performer that we had hired on a job look at all the paperwork, which is rare. And right now, it is more imperative than ever to look at every single sentence. And it's probably in legalese and it's probably really hard to digest. I mean, my contracts are ridiculous too, and I'm saying this to myself as well. And yeah, there's paragraphs to use your likeness like usual, but now there's starting to be new language, and it includes AI, and it includes what their rights are to your likeness. And I would be very just aware of what that is. And I think that all sorts of production companies, studios, etc., the law will change. The law is an ever-changing thing, right? New laws will need to be made to protect people. But how are those new laws created? Probably with people paying attention to these contracts, because perhaps they are, maybe the first experience is something where there's something in a contract that someone doesn't agree to. Or maybe there's a separate piece of paper that's like, oh, here's just this, just sign this too. And
there's going to be an
you're in your
issue.
trailer,
That's how
you're
that.
about to go on there. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you have to speak up. Or instead of going, I'm not signing this, you can say, I don't understand this fully. Can you explain to me what this means? That is a beautiful way to handle something, especially when it has to do with AI, and not like immediately calling your union and complaining about it, but just like really genuinely trying to understand what it is, which hopefully is where you're coming from anyway, and not immediately combative. However,
Yeah.
once you get that answer, and in my case, one scenario that I dealt with, the feedback from the powers that be that had some language were, oh, this is new. They don't have to sign that.
What?
Mhm. How many actors signed it?
All of them, except for that one guy, I bet.
Yep. And I don't get them. I'm not reading them. I mean, I'm also, that's not my job, is to, it's an agent's job, but
Sure.
still. So I'm just saying one experience that happened like 1 year and a half ago. It's like that experience made me think, ooh, we got to read that fine print. And I'm the first one to put an app on my phone and be like, done, and
Right.
whatever. And like, they bury it. And it's really, really, I think that's the key. I think that's the key.
There's a lot of people trying to take the small amount of jobs that are vying for the small amount of jobs as an actor, right? And I mean, like, you put out one breakdown for one role, you get 1,000 submissions. There's a lot of people that are fighting for that job. So it's like, like, so just having to argue against it as an actor to book that opportunity, have it in front of you. I think actors are put in a lot more compromising positions than people actually think.
Yes.
And they don't get it. And actors are willing to make compromising decisions easy because they see an opportunity that was so hard to get in the first place. And there's always that dangling carrot of, what can this do for my career? How can this progress me? What a great opportunity, because that's all we're being told. And then, I mean, like, like your dream is coming true. And what most actors don't realize is like, look, like, just because you get the greatest job on earth once doesn't mean you're ever gonna work again. And like,
That's where the technology of making your own content or making your own podcast or all of that, because if as an
sure.
artist, any artist, a painter, a songwriter, if your entire success is dependent on other people saying yes, I think you're in the wrong place
Sure.
mentally.
So
I think it's got, because empowered confidence attracts empowered confidence. And like even in
Yeah.
my preparation thing for that I'm at the tail end of writing this book right now. And it's like the very first step is to decide when you receive an audition as an actor, decide why am like read it through once and go, does this creatively resonate with me? Yes or no, and why? Does this professionally resonate with me? Yes or no, or why? Am I going to say yes to this audition? Do I feel compelled to put in the work? And I don't think enough artists, no matter what an artist is, but actors as an example, actually take the time to make a
No,
conscious decision because they
no.
start feeling obligated. Oh no, it's an opportunity. I'm going to read the script right away, and I'm exaggerating, of course, but to
But
really, really take the time to say, you know what, as an artist, I am choosing to do this audition because it is going to bring me joy preparing this character, understanding the story. And I'm really inspired by all of the artists involved in this show that I know so far. So I'm
yeah,
just going to give it a go and I'm going to spend this many of hours and then I'm going to move on with my life. That attracts a good audition, a receiving of a good audition on a molecular level, on a woo-woo level, because you are floating down the stream in the same direction as all the powers that be. And when you're coming from it from the other side, it's like swimming upstream from the beginning. And everyone's like, look, oh, look, you're swimming upstream. But if you can just be empowered, it's just, I don't know, and know how important it is. Like these auditions inform the character. These auditions inform the director. They're
yeah.
part of the production. I know you're not hired. I know you're not getting paid, but they are literally a part of making the project. And if that can be embraced and not being like, well, they have to pay me to audition, which is a whole other conversation. It's like, or whatnot. It's like, it's that came up for a second and then went away again. But like, it's the,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I just think that mindset of saying I'm an artist and the most unique you can possibly be is be yourself. And the big actors, you know what they're paid for? They are paid for their creative instinct. That's it. They are paid for how they think because they individually think. If you think of Reese Witherspoon or Julia Roberts or Viola Davis, I could just like name, Laurie Metcalf, they're not paid because they look right and they do the lines well. They're paid because their unique way of thinking is what gets captured by the camera.
Sure. Look, the whole, I think you're 100% right when, especially when it comes to the idea that like actors, are afraid to turn down opportunity,
Yes.
and they don't fully own what they're auditioning for. One thing I always say, and Jonathan and I talk about this, is like the actor who owns what they're going in for or their performance, I think
Mm.
is more right for the job than anybody else. You
Yes.
know, but like also like I'll say this too, like I'll get auditions from my agents, and maybe it's commercial or something that I like don't really want to do or commit to or have time to, but I'll usually probably also just say yes to it because in my mind, I'm thinking, one, I want to give my agents more firepower to get me the opportunities that I want. And then two, I want to be seen by people. And of course, I always want to put the best foot forward, but like in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I have like my kids like thing that I gotta go to. I have my all the producing stuff that I have to do. I don't know how this is gonna work with my schedule. I'll make it work if I have to, but like and like my wife is like, Brett, you need to start saying no to some things, and in my mind, I'm like, I have to
Can I
say
ask you a
yes to
question?
everything.
Yeah, can I
What?
ask you a question about that? Because that's literally, you're just doing step one for us right now in this podcast, on this podcast. Because if it's a commercial, like what you said, what are the reasons to not do it? Are time away from your family and, other obligations, et cetera. And the reasons to do it are professional to make sure that your agent, would you say you want your agent to
Have more firepower, have more
more fair?
relationships that see me, have,
Yeah.
have
And you
more.
want so then you get to balance that, right? So the step one is actually taking the time to go, I feel this way, which you beautifully articulated. So I now have a choice. I think that's the key. I now have a choice. I can say yes or I can say no. And you can even say to yourself, I mean, this is a life thing. I think the acting preparation is preparation for life, truly. But it's like I want I think the keeping the agent firepower is most important to me in my career right now. The other things are, but I can dedicate 3 hours. That's it. That's the maximum I'm going to do because I'm still going to go to this soccer game and I'm going to do this or whatever it is. I can dedicate 1 hour. And can I put my best foot forward in the 1 hour? So now you have a micro question. And then you're like, okay, I think I can because it's a commercial. It has 2 lines. I will decide on my objective, who I'm talking to, and my environment. Done, done, done. Great. Let's tape it. I'm going to do no more than 2 takes and I'm going to send them both in. And you know what? It's going to be fun and free. And if I get joy at the end, and I'm going to assess afterwards, if you're like, I felt that it was too pressured, I felt like I didn't do my best work, I was embarrassed, but I sent it in anyway, that's great information for next time the scenario shows up. And you can be like, actually, I'm not going to do this one because of this or whatnot. But I think but that's all power, right? That's all your own decision making. And there's not one bit of obligation in there. It's a systematic approach to saying yes to audition and no, you're booked on something else. It might be a soccer game, but you're booked.
Yeah.
No one thinks badly.
I mean, my wife is always the first one to tell me that I need to organize my time better. I will say this, like, whenever I audition and send an audition in,
Yeah.
I don't try to say, hey, I need to appease and make all these people happy. I
Yeah.
always say, do I feel good about the work that I'm putting forward?
Oh, I love that, Brett. I love that. That's
You
so
know?
beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
I tell talent all the time, if you're trying to give them quote unquote what they want, what you end up doing is abandoning who you are and what you would have brought to it in the first place. And when you look at the superstars, and I've said this before on this show, when you look at the people who really, really work well, and I don't just mean the big, big, big superstars. I mean
Oh,
somebody like,
the working
yeah,
actor who makes a living working as an actor. Yes.
like how about Tig Notaro? Is
Yeah.
that her name, right?
Yeah, Tig.
She is her character. And people are like, well, I want to be versatile. She's versatile. She's everywhere. And it doesn't mean that she can't play a different color or flavor of her personality. But when you see Notaro, whatever,
No, no Taro.
Notaro, thank you. When you see her, it's not a question of is she right for that part or not? She makes it her own. Do that in the audition. Use what you got. If you're a funny guy, use that sense of humor, even if it's a dramatic piece. Maybe your person is super depressed while trying to make the best of the situation. Whatever it is, use what you got because that's what you sell. That's what you offer.
Exactly.
Your strength.
Within the script analysis set where
Right.
you're not going against what you're given.
Oh my
But
God, no,
I couldn't
making the
agree
story
more.
better.
Yeah,
Making the story better because you're real.
exactly. Exactly.
I'm sitting here listening to you just going like, sign me up for the Church of Arvold because I
Oh, you're so
I
sweet.
resonate. I resonate with everything that you're saying. That's why you see me moving around. When I disagree with things, I'm just like, oh. But when I love it, I like start, dancing in the background. I don't know.
I've had the honor of sitting in on many of Erica's classes that she teaches and watching her work with actors. And I mean, she has a great process. And I think overall, what you're doing here, Erica, like just going off of emotion and speaking from inspiration of how you feel. I mean, that's what you do with when you're working with your actors as well,
Oh,
and
thank you. I hope so. I mean, in what attracts me to a project or an actor or working on a scene or whether I'm directing a whole thing, a whole film, it's like it's because I'm in it and I resonate with it as an artist, It's not about the final I am such a process-oriented person and I really believe that the process infiltrates the product with a certain energy. Some processes are very, very difficult and you hear about them and the product might make $1 bazillion, but I feel it. I don't know, maybe I'm super duper sensitive, but I feel it on the screen when it's not a great process. And I just think that
that's interesting.
that is like I was directing a short film back in like 2019 pre-pandemic and I was doing this warm up the journey of the senses and we were just getting really clear on what the sounds were and what the smells were and it was just to get everyone kind of vibrationally aligned at the beginning of the day. And I said, okay, so everyone's eyes are closed and like hunt for the smell of fresh cut grass. And so you're just trying to smell it, right? And I remember a grip goes, I don't think the grass has been cut here. And I realized the, the whole crew was doing it though. I was doing it with the actors. The whole crew was doing it. And you know what happened after lunch? The actors like, can we do that again after lunch? Because we kind of lost it and we wanted. So I did. And guess what? Whole crew did it again. And we just gelled. And it was a small enough group. It was a short film that it was just the most amazing thing to be in this kind of story coming from this same centered place where we were all very aware of what we were hearing and what we were smelling and what we were hearing and smelling in the scene and what we were inventing with our imagination. And it was the most pleasurable dance of artistry. Just, action and cut became a part of the tapestry of what we were doing. And I don't know, and it just felt good. And I mean, the product I'm very proud of, but I'm like, the process to me is even more important.
Yeah. You know,
Can you tell us what that film is?
oh yeah.
I can. It's a teen film. It's about suicide, so trigger warning, and it's called Here Today.
Here Today.
But I'll tell you, when I heard of Chloe Zhao's process on Hamnet, I was never so excited and I am so aspiring to work like her or Greta Gerwig because they both are. I commiserate with what I hear about them. I think they're iconic and amazing, and I would desire very much to work like them. But it confirms that this little experiment on this little short film actually is now being used on much greater sets.
That's that's cool. That's cool. I want to go back to before you said like, for the actor, not relying on someone else to say yes to them, but like them going out and making their own content. So two things, right? One, 100%, like I agree with that. But two, on the other side of it, as an actor, right? And producing, acting, when I get hired as an actor to just act, to just 100% focus on that, and to be on someone else's set that I know what they're going through to produce or direct or write or edit, like to just have the job of being an actor on set is the most relieving and greatest thing ever, ever.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things where like I am so appreciative when I get hired to just be an actor. Like it almost makes me like want to cry, but like it's I mean it's well paid and it's like everyone is taking care of you, but then you get to do what you love for everybody, and it's like it's amazing. It's incredible. Like I don't think people really understand what that feeling actually is, especially like actors who have been very, very lucky to only ever had to act, and like they get an opportunity and they don't really go through, and there it's few and far between, but there are actors out there that have just hit and only ever been an actor, and especially in the vertical world now, but like to not go through all the hurdles or to not understand what the rest of the production team has to go through. Yeah, I don't know. It's a revelation,
If you had to equate that feeling to a moment in film, like what would that moment look like? I'm picturing the little boy, his dad's in the stand and he's super nervous. It's two outs. It's the, bottom of the, that's where my sports references go away, by the way.
Are
And
you asking Brett or are you asking
yeah,
me?
I'm asking Brett.
Brett.
Like,
Okay, good.
so the pitch comes in, the kid hits the ball, it's a home run, and in slow motion, we just see everybody when it goes over the fence and he's running. Is that a film equivalent to that feeling you were just talking about? And if so, give me another one.
Man, you're putting me on the spot. Erica, feel free to jump in
You
at any
you
time.
said you love to it.
Okay,
Yeah,
did you guys see the movie Rudy that I worked on a
yes,
long, long, long
yes,
time ago?
yes, yes.
Rudy was that about the
The football
dog?
player,
Football
Oh,
Rudy
player
no,
Ruger.
no,
at Notre Dame.
I
Yeah,
missed
yeah,
that one.
Okay, Jonathan, I'm going to ask you to do one thing after this podcast, and that's go watch Rudy.
Oh, I will. I'm
Yeah.
also going to watch here today. I'm also
Oh,
going to see if I can find your book.
oh, I'll send you my directing website so you can watch Here Today and whatever else. There's a bunch of stuff. Even one thing I did with
Yay!
Brett is on there, I think.
Yay!
Okay. Um, yeah, and my book, watch, you can go to arvold.com. That's my website, which will,
I'm on it.
and you can, I think you can sign up for the book. I've got a final polish. I've got a deadline too. But anyway, so in Rudy, there's this beautiful scene where Charles Dutton is standing in the, what do you call it?
Charles
Where
Dutton.
where they run out, the tunnel where they're running out.
Oh,
And there's this moment that he slow claps. And that's to me, that's the example of what you just articulated. I feel it when I'm directing and when I'm coaching actors. I feel, you know what I've always wanted to do, and I was in band and I played clarinet and flute and guitar and piano and sang. And in like the I always have been inspired by and feel like a conductor. That is my happy place. Like that's not overwhelming to me. I love answering questions. I love making decisions. I love watching a whole group of people with different voices make unbelievably gorgeous music. And I love like speeding it up and I love slowing it down and to get softer. And I feel like that's what directing is. And that's what casting is much of the time too. And so what you're describing, Brett, I can identify with completely in my own kind of defined craft as the same thing. And what do they call that? They call it the flow. In certain circles, if you get the I think it's Jungian, I don't know what the psychology is or what philosophy is, but you get in this state of flow, and that's pure creativity, right? That's
In the zone, right?
yes,
In the
in the
zone,
zone.
or for
Yeah,
musicians, it's in the pocket.
yes.
And I think what's interesting that you're talking about, Brett, in theater, you kind of get to have a little bit of that. When that
yeah.
audience is right there with you. And
Mhm.
when you come out to take your final bow and the audience erupts and they stand up, there is a feeling that you
Yeah.
get from all of those people that it's hard to recreate anywhere else. We don't get that in film
Well,
because if
and
it's
you get
great,
Well,
then we
the
move
film
on.
genre doesn't you don't get input from an audience. So in that's why the camera finds you too, and it's
right.
so internal because in theater, which I love, which obviously I've been a part of a lot of, is like the actor, let's say, has to, I'm just going to use a magnetism proportion, but like let's say they have to push out 80% and the audience comes back 20% and meets them. So it's a dance, but it's a magnetic pool that's more towards the audience and outside of the actor. I would invert that for film where the camera comes in 80% and
Mm,
20%, you're trying to let the person next to you think what you're thinking, but you're figuring out what they're thinking, right? Like that's that
sure.
in character thinking. And there's usually unawareness of a camera. So the camera is a voyeuristic
Yeah.
very much, and you want to have like Stanislavski talked about, public being private in public. That's a very different definition on stage than it is in
Yeah.
that. Or you could talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, breaking the third wall. The camera's there. Like there's tricks that people do too. But I think that's the main difference. And when we're talking technically to when I'm talking to theater actors that are technically like, I am not getting this. I'm like, it's not big and small. It's an energy flow going a different
Yeah.
way. And the camera, you can get away sometimes in theater, not on Broadway, but in theater with not being truthful, but you can't get away for one nanosecond on camera with not being truthful.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
And on stage, it's instantaneous feedback. And you
Yes.
and that feedback from the audience informs and inspires the next piece of performance that's coming out.
Hmm.
Like yeah, it's a malleable living performance. Obviously on camera it's a malleable living performance, but it's totally
But it's only about the other actors you're with.
yes,
It's only about
yes,
that connection.
yes,
It's a very
yes,
private,
yes. Well,
yeah.
and what people don't realize is like when you're acting on camera, there's 100 people on the other side of that lens. And like you have to
They're
you
like,
have to
your
almost have
curtain
tunnel
drawn.
vision. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like when you're acting with those actors to really embrace them, you almost like and be truthful to the environment. You have to have tunnel vision in the world and turn that fourth wall off. You
And I'll
know?
go even further because, and I think it's Matt Damon who said this on an actor's studio a long time ago. Was he in a movie called The Departed? I might be
Matt
getting two
Damon?
things
Yes.
mixed up, but
Yes.
he said that
He was the corrupt cop.
okay, so I think this is what he was referencing. Don't hold me to it, but I think this is what it was. He said it's human nature when people around you are doing things. So the grips are doing things, that crew you're talking about, Brett, they're all doing things, even if they're just focusing the camera or they're looking at the monitors, but they're doing something. And an actor's job is to hold space and not do, just be and hold space. And so it is human nature when people are doing things to want to do things. And so he talks about his big epiphany on that movie was he is not there to do anything. He is there to purely hold space. And he had to just do that in his own mind again and again and again and again. So if Matt Damon's talking about the challenging bit of holding space and his very successful way of doing it, I hope that resonates. Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you a question that I think I know the answer to, but I'm not sure.
Mm,
Holding space like that, when you're
mhm.
on set, you have to, and that is a developed skill. I mean, you have to do that. In an audition, I don't think that's the time and place to always do that. Because just like Paul said a moment ago, you've got to get their attention in 20 seconds or whatever. That process is not on set. You're still acting, you're still real, but you can't just take the time and react however. You have to, you're putting together a job proposition to showcase what you can do, not actively doing it on set. I
So
don't know if
so
I'm wording that correctly,
so
but you see why I asked that question.
I
but
do.
before, hang on, Erica, because I know you're gonna have an expert answer on this. But my take on auditions is I want to engage and be as truthful as possible as soon as possible. That's my take because I know how many auditions that are going in, and I want to engage and keep them engaged. That's my take.
I love that. It's a great answer.
And I think that I'm going to have a two-part answer. I think that to keep people engaged and being authentic, in a way, it requires holding that space. I think that is when I can't look away. When I'm like, I'm already watching the movie. And it's not because they've made the right choices or that they're word perfect. It's because they know what the sounds are. They are in the environment. They know who this person is across from them. It's all those things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they made it so easy for me to translate this audition to watching them on the show. That's
Okay,
when I
okay.
can't look away. But here's the thing that I think you're actually articulating really well, and Paul was probably referring to is on set, the camera finds the performance. The camera moves and finds the performance. In an audition, the actor has to adjust for a still camera. I mean, the camera might pan a little, but so it's this reverse thing. It's not an energy reversal like theater, but it is technically a completely different genre. Talk about genres. It is a completely different genre. So taking the time and letting the camera find you has to be eradicated from the audition process, which is, I think, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're able to technically go, okay, I'm in front of the camera, I know my framing, I know what it is, then go into this
Yeah.
unbelievably specific sensory space where it's all about the other person and you can give a hint of, oh my gosh, that's what they are. That's the character that I want to watch on screen. That's the sweet spot, I think, in my words.
Okay.
Erica,
Okay.
we are all in love with you and your mindset and your approach. I'm serious. I'm serious.
Wait.
Please tell us.
Brett's
I'm
gonna
not. I'm not
devil's
rapping,
advocate me
Brett.
Wait.
again
I'm not
now.
rapping. I'm not rapping.
Wait,
I'm just.
wait,
I.
wait, wait, but I
Okay.
want to jump off of what she just said
Yeah.
about the camera moving on set.
Okay.
Okay. we live so Jonathan, we live in a film town in the southeast in Atlanta. I was lucky enough to be cast in a movie called Third, which
Mhm.
just premiered at the Atlanta Film Festival, and Erica just
And
saw
you
it.
were great. You were
So
great,
th-
Brett.
thank you, thank you. I want to specifically bring up the
Yeah.
second or the third scene I was in,
The
where the
pool.
camera's literally
Oh.
spinning around us, right?
Hmm.
And this is exactly, I think it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yes,
But
I think it is.
but like literally, my performance was actually was half created because of the camera movement, where I literally, being an aware actor, I was waiting for the camera in some elements to then say my dialogue, because it was literally finding me throughout the entire conversation happening between me and three other people on in the scene. So
Yeah, but in an audition, you know how you show that? Now I'm digressing a little. But if I were like in an audition, I have to get a piece of paper or something, and then I still have a little bit of dialogue, and I do that and I come back in, guess what? I'm like, I know my framing. I know exactly when I
right,
can go off, when I can't go off. Oh,
right,
I'm going to stand up. Oh, here he comes. Okay, bye. Like I can use this in my audition, and then someone goes, "Oh, my shot is this 360, and I know that this actor is going to be able to handle it because they understand camera framing."
yeah,
That's part of the actual acting process that I teach. That your acting style changes depending on the type of shot that you're in, and the type of shot that you're working in can sometimes inform the
Mhm.
ideas and the moments, so that the editor doesn't see the exact same thing a million billion times. What the editor sees is this actor using the big close up. So everything is pillow talk, intimate. It's a little more secrets are being revealed. So that tells you for those close up takes, that's the emotional state, or that's the action. Then if we're going into like a medium shot or like a cowboy shot or something, that's more a little bit more presentation, almost like a professor. So I know what kind of choices to make depending on the shot, so that the editor can paint a picture using all the different colors that I provide, as opposed to
Mhm.
doing the same thing over and over and over. If I go, happy birthday like that, and this is my framing, well, that's a terrible shot. Look at my hands out of the frame, you know?
And are
So
you talking specifically on set or specific or how does that translate to auditions?
I think it's exactly what we need to do
Mhm.
in auditions. We need to understand whatever we set this framing up for,
Hmm.
we need to
I
work
mean,
within that
I don't
space.
I don't know if it's completely required, but sometimes it does make it easier for whoever's viewing the auditions to go, "Oh, I could see that on set." Because I just came across something and literally the actors giving some impassioned talk and they were wonderful. And I'll do it with my body. The camera came in on the, oh, actually I'll do it with my thing. And so they're talking and they're talking and they're talking. And this was the audition, and this was the audition, and this was
Oh,
the
that's
audition. And they go,
distracting.
and I was like, oh no, they're letting the camera do the acting work for them. And I can't, there's a fine line, is what I'm saying, right? There's a fine line because some people are like, oh, don't you want me to do this scene in my car outside? Because they'll hear that one person got, a casting director's attention or a producer's attention because they did it in the real setup. And it's like, well, that might be an exception. Remember how we talked about exceptions? But like, really, that's not necessary. And as a matter of fact,
yeah.
a long time ago, decades ago, way before the internet, I was on a project. I will not mention what it is. And
Okay.
I can't mention what it is.
Okay.
Somebody did a scene on location auditioning, and it was sent via FedEx for VHS tape. So that shows you how long ago it was. I was in Los Angeles. And the director came in, and I thought that was a great performance. And the director said, this is why I can't say anything. They said, what do they think they're directing this movie? No.
What an odd thing, an oddly defensive
I know.
thing to say.
I know. And so I mean, that was a long time ago. People
Sure,
have come
sure,
a long way, but
sure.
I do think it articulates in a very exaggerated way the fine line about, using your technical savvy to set you up to succeed, or is it
Yeah.
overshadowing your kind of playing? Because an audition is a blank space.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to clarify that though, because I'm not saying change your shot a million times in a self tape. I'm saying look at your frame,
Yeah.
understand what your choices are going to be. And, I might use this medium close up shot if I'm going to do something dramatic. I might do it here. I'm not going to go knees up
Right.
if I'm going to do something like that. But on set, right? And by the way, audition, I'm not going to change that. That's
Yeah,
where I am. That's where
but
I
you might
live.
have to if there is a punch in the scene and you fall down or something, there you might fall out of camera, or you might do a cowboy shot where you're
You're
that
right.
so
You're
there
right. I
are
might.
things. Yeah,
I
yeah.
might. But what I'm not gonna do if the line is happy birthday, I'm not gonna reach out of the frame like that. I'm gonna show that I know not only how to
Mhm.
take up my space, but how to fill that space appropriately.
Right.
Right. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
then on set, it's understanding how to ask what the cutoff is so that I'm not giving something that's not even seen. I say that what's in the
Well,
frame
yeah,
must hold
and they
significance.
could do, okay, this goes way back to step one that we talked about in terms of you're
Okay.
asking yourself if you want to audition or not. So they go from wide to close up, right? It's for a whole lot of reasons. That's how everyone's
Hmm.
thinking. So when an actor first gets a script, I don't want them memorizing lines. I would not recommend that. I would not even recommend them looking at the description of the character because that gets you into this very specific thing. I think you read the script and decide how does this creatively resonate, and then what is it about? What is the script about if I were directing it? Not if you're acting in it, but if you were directing it or writing it, is it about love? Is it about power? Is it about, and then why is it about that to yourself? And then you know what you're doing then? You are doing the opposite of saying, what are they looking for? Because what are they
Oh,
looking
Erica.
for is the stab that just doesn't, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It gives all the power away. It gives all the creative, what did I say that actors get, their creative instinct that you have, it already derails that.
Yeah.
And instead, if you come at it like an artist, you're setting yourself up to literally succeed because you're thinking like the production designer when they first got the script, the director when they first got the script. All the department heads are asking themselves these questions. And so you're aligned.
Because you're the department head of that character. You are the
Exactly.
Sammy VP of
I know,
creative
and
or
it
whatever, right?
sounds really kind of altruistic, but it works. I have seen it
Yes.
work again and again and again and again. And it is just, and it might be confidence, it might be empowerment, it might be the fact that, oh my gosh, it's a more fun way to audition. When
Hmm.
you actually take something and you're like, I want to know what I feel about this. Wow, this is why I became an actor or an artist in the first place, you
And you
know?
can always do another take after you've read everything, but that first one,
Yes.
try it. And the reason I'm flipping out over here like a trained whale is because I just made a TikTok video
Yeah.
maybe a couple weeks ago where I said, hey, here's an exercise that I do. And sometimes I'll even turn it in where I don't even read the breakdown on breakdown
The
services,
breakdown's for the
tasks.
agent. The breakdown is
I
not for
love
the
this
actor.
woman. Yes, that is
Because
not
because
designed
here's
for.
the other thing. If you have a breakdown and they're like, we're casting a podcast host, and you're like, great, you're already a podcast host, Jonathan. If you start acting like a podcast host, you are putting a hat on a hat, and it's way too much.
Oh
So
my God, a hat on a hat.
a
Yes.
hat on a hat. Like I am telling people all the time, like you have a beautiful, like I just some random person. You're a victim of theft on NYPD Blue. I know that's way dated, but the character's a victim of theft and they're being interviewed by the cops, right? Okay, and let's say the character is described as like meek and small and tiny and whatever, and mousy. That's my favorite, mousy. First of all, the agent is going to submit people who already have the essence of mousy, whatever that means, whether you like it about yourself or not. That's your job as an actor to understand what your persona is. I'm going to pick people that I think are appropriate. So as soon as someone comes in and acts mousy, they've put two hats on top of the hat. What
Yes.
they can do is they can come in and be a ballsy lawyer that is going to speak up because everything they have, their essence already is the part. And so now they have a point of view and confidence, which is what books jobs.
It's so validating to hear this because I say these things to my students or I
Yeah.
do them myself. And, I'm not in Atlanta. I'm not in Los
Yeah.
Angeles. I'm barely in Orlando. And so I feel so alone sometimes when I say these things and when I think this way, because people are like, well, what do you mean you don't read the book? I, as an exercise, I do it my way. And oftentimes, the way I do it naturally
Mhm.
is more interesting than the way I would do it if I look and see, okay, well, because they're looking for talk show host, then I am performing. I call it sugar on Fruit Loops, right? I don't know
Yeah,
where I heard that, but it's like
that's funny.
but it's already sweet.
Exactly.
You walked into
Exactly.
the room with that. Don't give us extra of that. That is such God, it's so beautiful to hear uh this
It's so true.
coming
And
from
I think
you.
that reading the breakdown description later in the process, when you have an opinion about it, maybe there's some informative things in there that you kind of add to your script analysis, or you decide to not, but you're not off track. Put it that way. It just confirms that you're not going left. Maybe it says something like the whole thing is in one shot and it's in a garage where they fix cars. And you might go, oh, I didn't get that from my scene. That's actually really informative in terms of what I'm smelling. I'm smelling oil and I'm slick. The floor is slick. Great. And you use it. You don't say, oh, now I have to be a mechanic. You know what I mean?
Yes. I am loving this like nerd out session that the three of us
Oh,
are
oh, you
having.
can call me anytime to
I
nerd out because this is what I talk about 24/7.
Same. You could ask Brett. Like I get going on this. I don't want to keep you all day. I do want to ask you to tell us where we can find you so that we can see what you're working on, learn about your classes, your training, your book. Where do we go, Erica
Amazing.
Arvold?
Arvold.com will lead to anything. There's a button called casting. It goes to my IMDb so you can see what we're working on. There's a button called education, which will take you to my studio's website, and everything else is on there.
Awesome. Awesome. This has been such a treat. Brett, I see little people behind you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know you got to wrap. We can wrap this up right now and do a post thing later. I just on behalf of tech and talent and Brett and myself and every actor that needs to feel heard and understood, Erica Arvold, thank you
Oh,
so,
my
so much.
pleasure.
What a
My
treat.
pleasure.
Thank you,
This has
Erica.
been a joy. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank
Oh,
Yeah, we can totally have you back and go on other rants for sure.
you. Okay, good.
oh, hey, everybody, look, if you're looking to do some auditions, I can't even think. Brett, you have to do the outro. I'm so nerd out right now.
I mean, wow. I mean, if Jonathan was amazed and impressed, I think everybody has to tell everyone about this episode with Erica Arvold. Erica, thank you so much. I think in the Southeast, you've been an inspiration. I think you've given so much opportunity to so many people. And I mean that starting where Jonathan left off full circle, that is why when people hear Erica Arvold, they go, Erica Arvold, the woman
Oh,
who's been giving to this community for so long. So thank you.
well, thank you. And thank you. I receive so much from this community, so I'm just giving it right back.
You're welcome, everybody. This has been Tech and Talent. See you next time.
Tech and talent.